Imagine pulling into a quiet parking lot, thinking only about finishing your day and heading home. The air is calm, the lights are dim, and everything feels ordinary until red and blue flashes suddenly appear behind you. An officer steps out, shoes echoing on the pavement, voice firm as he approaches. He tells you that you've parked too close to a restricted zone. Surprised but calm, you reach for your purse and explain you didn't notice the signs clearly. You offer to move the car, but the officer doesn't seem convinced, his questions sharper than expected. You hand over your ID and everything changes in an instant. The seriousness on his face softens, the tension in his tone fades. 5 words on a badge, university faculty professor, shift his perception completely. Suddenly, you are no longer just a driver, you are a respected professional. This story explores that brief, silent moment when respect arrives only after recognition. It raises a question: why must titles determine how we are treated? It started like any ordinary day after a long lecture. She had spoken to students, graded papers, answered emails, and walked out feeling tired but satisfied. The evening air was quiet, the parking lot mostly empty. She wasn't rushing, just ready to go home and relax. Pulling into a space that looked safe, she locked the car and adjusted her bag. Everything seemed fine until the flashing lights appeared. Red and blue reflected against her car, turning calm evening into tension. The officer stepped out, one hand resting on his belt, expression serious. Her heart raced, not with panic, but the natural response to authority. He called out, asking her to return to the car. She stayed calm, answered politely, and explained her uncertainty about the signs. Yet the officer's tone carried doubt, suggesting suspicion before any real conversation happened. In that moment, she felt a mix of frustration and discipline. She understood that the world doesn't always see who you are, only what it assumes. Breathing deeply, she prepared to explain herself clearly, patiently, every step of the way. Little did she know that a single card in her wallet would soon transform the situation. She had no idea how strange that shift would feel. Everything would change without a single word being raised. The officer's stance was controlled, voice calm but firm. He explained that the space was near an official zone, pointing at the sign. Regulations, procedure, and protocol, words he likely repeated countless times. She nodded and listened, ready to move the car if needed. Simple compliance seemed sufficient to her, yet the interaction didn't end. Questions kept coming, hinting at doubt and suspicion beneath the surface. Where are you coming from? Why did you choose this spot? Do you understand the sign? Each question was polite, but the tone suggested disbelief. She responded patiently, hands visible, words carefully chosen. Not because she was guilty, but because she understood the need to behave perfectly in tense moments. Then came the request that would change everything. I need to see your ID. Slowly, she retrieved her wallet and handed it over deliberately. The officer glanced at the card and instantly the energy shifted. His eyebrows relaxed, jaw unclenched, and the edge in his voice disappeared. Professor? He asked, almost softly. Curiosity and respect replaced suspicion, embarrassment perhaps lingering as well. That single identification altered the dynamic completely. She realized quietly that recognition had brought respect that politeness alone had not earned. His voice softened, turning almost conversational as he repeated the instructions. The badge had spoken louder than her words ever could. He apologized under his breath, explaining that faculty parking could be confusing. He mentioned that others had made similar mistakes, giving a small, awkward smile. Nothing technically had changed, yet perception had shifted entirely. She became someone deserving patience simply because of a title. She reflected quietly on the experience. Education had given her opportunities, yet it felt uncomfortable that credentials determined respect. Calmness, honesty, and kindness hadn't been enough to command patience. Why must worth be proven through proof of position? She moved her car, thanked him, and left the interaction with a lesson lingering in the air. Perception, more than reality, had shaped the encounter. Driving home, the evening looked ordinary, yet her mind replayed the scene. Moments like these are teachers, revealing how subtle bias influences interactions. Most people do not intend harm, yet assumptions shape behavior through tone, posture, and unspoken expectations. Understanding the officer's stress did not justify the initial doubt, but empathy created space for perspective. Awareness matters as much as action in moments like these. Patience had prevented escalation, revealing something deeper about human interaction. She considered what might have happened if she reacted angrily. Confrontation could have arisen from misunderstanding, altering the encounter completely. Instead, composure had shifted the energy, highlighting how treatment reflects perception more than reality. She whispered to herself, "Be calm. Be kind, but be aware." Awareness allows us to notice subtle lessons hidden in everyday situations. These quiet moments often teach louder truths than dramatic events ever could. In reflecting further, she considered others who lack credentials. Single parents, students, or workers without prestige might not receive the same patience. Titles shouldn't define the level of dignity offered to anyone. Yet society often reacts to symbols, uniforms, and labels before knowing the individual. She realized respect should exist independently of credentials. The badge had changed his perception, not her value. Later, she shared the story with students and colleagues. The lesson was universal. Everyone deserves fair treatment before judgment. Symbols may influence behavior, but fairness should be consistent. By pausing and assuming good intentions, interactions improve naturally. Society becomes kinder when ordinary people are seen. Awareness and reflection create the opportunity for fairness. She smiled gently, realizing her ID didn't define her worth. Titles and accomplishments don't dictate intrinsic value. Character and dignity exist independently of labels or positions. Respect should be inherent, not conditional on recognition. True respect arises from treating everyone with patience and consideration. That night she left aware, thoughtful, and inspired. Driving through quiet streets, the encounter replayed in her mind. The subtle tone, shifts, politeness, and sudden acknowledgement revealed profound truths about human behavior. Moments like this highlight biases we rarely examine. Empathy allows us to understand both sides of a situation. Awareness of assumptions can prevent unnecessary tension. Real lessons often come in small, ordinary interactions. The officer continued his shift, carrying the reminder of human complexity. She carried the lesson forward into her classroom and conversations. Respect shouldn't arrive only after credentials are seen. Society improves when ordinary individuals feel valued. The parking lot incident reflected broader societal patterns. Symbols may open doors, but fairness should never be contingent. She pondered the power of small gestures. Simple kindness, attentiveness, and patience influence interactions. The officer's change in tone illustrated how quickly assumptions can dominate behavior. Awareness allows us to interrupt these patterns. Everyone's story deserves recognition, whether or not it is printed on a card. Subtle lessons often outweigh loud proclamations. She thought of her students stepping into the world with uncertainty. Beyond academics, they must learn fairness, patience, and dignity. Respect isn't about the powerful, it's about humanity. Everyday encounters shape perceptions more than rules or labels. Modeling awareness teaches them values that last a lifetime. Character is formed through repeated recognition of others' worth. In quiet reflection, she realized this story was bigger than herself. The lesson applied universally to anyone judged prematurely. People often wait to respect until credentials appear. True respect exists from the outset. Assumptions shape interaction, but patience can transform outcomes. Small, deliberate acts of awareness cultivate fairness in society. Her drive home felt ordinary, yet her thoughts were reflective. She considered how subtle judgments affect countless encounters daily. Bias isn't always intentional, yet it is pervasive. Conscious reflection interrupts unfair patterns. Calmness and patience prevent escalation. The lesson extended far beyond a parking lot. Respect should precede recognition, not follow it. Titles, uniforms, and symbols can open doors but shouldn't gatekeep dignity. Every interaction is an opportunity to treat someone fairly. Awareness of assumptions creates more just exchanges. Empathy fosters understanding between people. Small shifts in tone can make a lasting difference. The memory stayed with her long after that evening. Reflection became part of her teaching and everyday life. Human interactions reveal lessons about perception, patience, and fairness. Recognition should never be required for decency. Awareness and calmness create safer, kinder environments. True respect is unconditional. She realized her identity wasn't defined by an ID. Who she was existed independently of titles or accomplishments. Character and value precede recognition. Everyone deserves dignity without proof of authority. The world is shaped by countless small interactions. Each encounter carries an opportunity for fairness. Finally, she smiled, carrying awareness forward. Quiet lessons often surpass dramatic events. Respect, patience, and understanding are practices, not rewards. Judgments influence tone and behavior subtly but profoundly. Awareness transforms ordinary encounters into meaningful lessons. Humanity is revealed in small, reflective moments. As she parked elsewhere and turned off the engine, a single thought echoed: respect should arrive first, not after credentials. Awareness, patience, and kindness matter more than titles. Symbols may alter perception, but they do not define worth. Calmness and empathy prevent unnecessary conflict. Everyone has a story worth seeing. Real respect begins before the introduction.